Committee. We have all 12 committee members present today, so thanks everyone for being here. So we will begin with our public comment period. Folks can sign up ahead of the meeting to address the body. Do we have anybody who signed up? So we didn't have anybody sign up for the meeting. Is anybody in the gallery here with an interest to make a public comment to the body? Not seeing anybody in the gallery, so that'll conclude the public comment period. And first off, y'all, I want to, we have some special guests here that we're going to hear from in a moment, and I want to just, as everybody knows, we had a really devastating storm, including tornadoes in Nashville last weekend, and a lot of people have been really hard at work, Metro departments, OEM, NES, NDOT. I've seen folks from all over Metro out there, as well as the public volunteering and nonprofits and different groups out there helping. So I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the incredible work of these departments, especially NES, restoring power to tens of thousands of Nashvillians who lost it in the storm, and everybody else with OEM and just the whole team who's been helping out with that. And of course, the council members in the affected areas who've been working really, really hard to support their constituents. So, yeah, thank you, Councilmember Allen. I agree. So first today, we're gonna hear an update on our LED streetlight conversion project. So I invited folks from both NDOT and Nashville Electric Service to come share kind of where we're at with that process. For the new members and folks who might not be aware, we approved this by resolution about, I don't know,
It's in July, and it's not on your agenda.
It's not a presentation, it's just an operational update from departments. Thank you. So this is a program that we approved to replace the streetlights in Nashville, which are currently the old sodium halide bulbs that burn very dim and are prone to failure, and also don't give us any feedback as to when they are out. With smart LED bulbs that are much more effective, more energy efficient, and also will give feedback to NES so they'll know when to go out and replace a fixture that has failed. So I've gotten a lot of questions from folks about this and what that process is going to look like and how it will work. So I don't know if we want to have someone from, I think it looks like Director Alarcon is approaching the podium. Director Alarcon, can you give us a little bit of an update on where we're at with this whole process?
I'm going to give you a little bit of update, but I'm going to invite some folks up to the podium to really give you the full update. But as you remember, the contract with NES was actually approved last year by the prior council. So we've been moving forward very steadily with organizing a technical team that worked on putting together the approach of actually starting the 5-year implementation of converting over from the current high sodium lighting over to LED. So with that, I'm going to actually turn it over to Antonio Carroll or someone else. Who am I turning? I'm not sure who I'm turning over, but I'm going to turn it over to NES so they can sort of talk about their process. And then I have Jason Odom here as well, who is handling the technical side from our on the team. And he'll be happy to come up and speak to NDOT and sort of how we have led some of the prioritization of the lighting. Thank you. Well, I did turn it over to the right person.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, members of the committee. We appreciate you having us here tonight, and we appreciate your kind words for our crews who've been working tirelessly over the last week. I have Joey Streisel here, who is our Energy Services Supervisor, who is our technical person, is over our lighting division, and NES is going to give you a comprehensive update on where we are in this process. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Again, Joey Streisel with NES, and just give you a high-level update and then answer questions, right? So, NES and Metro have been working on this agreement for some time. Again, that we signed back in July. Since then, a committee was formed with members from NDOT and NES to go through technical aspects of it, Jason being one of those. we, first start where we're going to start, right? I guess the start of that was, we've got a couple different things. I know there's high injury corridors that were going to be addressed, and also, kind of do our inventory as well of what's really there. I mean, getting our maps and everything updated. So we kind of jointly located north side of town was where our inventory, we got a 4-year rotation on our inventory. So we're really just following our inventory maps and also picking up the Gallatin Road, Dickerson Road corridors as they leave downtown, out of town, and then working east from there over, the 5-year cycle of the project. Moving forward, talking about LED, 2 different aspects, right? You've got a fixture and then you've got the controls, right? An important aspect I think that everyone wanted was that ability to know when things weren't working. The control piece, we've just recently, in the last couple of weeks, made some decisions on that and procuring those now, looking to, start mid to latter part of January, doing the conversion. Still a lot of decisions to be made, right? This is a 5-year project, right? So, the Cobra head fixtures, which make up, really 87 units, 48,000 plus of all the lights on the system are Cobra head. We've been installing those LED fixtures for years on the system. I know there's some concerns about flicker and things like that. As we've looked at the components that we're going to use for this project, quality was a big concern, right? And so, we didn't even look at anything that didn't come with a 10-year warranty, right? So, I mean, I think we're, again, using fixtures that we've been installing. There's thousands of those fixtures scattered around the system already that we've had, good success with. And we're going to continue in phase 1 with that, with those fixtures. And then we're going to continue to evaluate other fixtures. And we've already going to move forward with a company on the controls that'll give us real-time feedback on outages and things like that, usage, all those things that are part of the contract. Be glad to answer any more questions. I don't want to, again, that's very high level, but please answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you, sir. So I'll go to committee members, and then I've got a couple as well. I'll go first to Councilmember Sandy Ewing. Councilmember Ewing.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for that overview. I just had a quick question. So I know LEDs are more efficient. I wonder if you've calculated a payback period for this retrofit project.
So again, hoping to every number here, but yeah, I mean, again, NES and NDOT and the city have been working through this for a long time. So yes, energy efficiency. There's probably roughly 60% savings once you convert from an HPS type fixture. We have a few metal halides and some of the other mercury vapors still on the system, but the bulk of our system is high pressure sodium.
And let me just kind of jump in here as well. The way we are structured, NES actually manages, maintains all of our lighting. So we actually do anticipate to see immediate savings on our actual bill that we pay monthly. So in our monthly bill, as the lighting goes up, it should drop, and that will be built in. There is actually a formula base in which we pay for it. So we'll see the savings as soon as we start implementing quite a few of them, because that energy cost will come down and that'll be associated. But there is an overall calculation that is built into, but it's not like one where there's a complete payoff, because, we had a tornado and we lost a ton of street lights, and they worked very diligently to get them back up and running. So that kind of plays into it. So they cover all of that capital cost if that happens as well. So it's constantly a running total, I want to say, but we are expecting to see a drop in the cost of what we pay on a monthly basis, if that helps. Sorry. I just
Thank you.
wanted to add that.
Absolutely.
I saw Councilmember Hill next. We'll go to Councilmember Hill, then Coopin.
Thank you. One, I just want to say I'm excited about this. I love LEDs and every opportunity that we can get to reduce energy. I love the idea of it being smart so that we'll know that those are out. My only big question is overall, and maybe this was mentioned and I didn't know, or maybe I just don't understand it. I'm just trying to learn. Was this sent out for bid, and if not, why?
Good evening, everyone. This is Vaughn Charles, Vice President of T&D Operations at NES. So, In this particular instance, we had very good, well, let's start with the bid process. In order to do a really good bid means that you've got to have all the details and be able to clearly define the scope of what needs to be done. We need to have all the lights. We need to know what the lumens are at each location. We need to be able to hand a document to someone and say, go ahead and bid on this, right? Right now, there are a lot of moving parts. I mean, we're still making decisions on a daily basis about exactly what fixtures are going to go where and what changes need to happen and what the exact counts are and what lights are in Davidson County, what lights are private lights, what lights are actually owned by Metro, what lights are maintained by NES, which lights are not maintained by NES. So I say all that to say is that there's a lot of information that needs to be compiled and put together. To go through a bid process probably requires an additional 6 to 8 months, maybe more, of just getting all that detailed information so you can hand it out to someone to bid on it. Secondly, going through the RFQ process, we had a vendor here on the system already that had performed extremely well in places like Goodlettsville, Brentwood, Laverne. We had great success. They had demonstrated their knowledge, their capabilities. And secondly, we, NES, had done our very best job at trying to figure out what we think this cost was going to be if NES were to perform this work ourselves. And so between having this vendor who had demonstrated their capabilities and their ability to complete this project, the estimates were 10% less than what NES had. And again, we have done a lot of the lighting installations. We do maintenance. We know what it costs. We've got very good data on what our cost would be, yet they could do it for 10% less. And also they've demonstrated what their capabilities are. That was the main reason, main driver why we decided to go we skipped the RFQ process. Not to mention in places like Memphis, there've been some articles here written recently about comparing what we're doing to Memphis. That would have added 12 to 18 months to the process to go through. At least in their case, it did. It added 12 to 18 months to the getting that contract going. Again, that's something we can do.
Yeah. Let me add one more thing to that. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. If you could approach the microphone,
Can you
please,
hear
and
me now?
introduce yourself.
As Vice President Charles mentioned, we didn't go through the procurement process because under tenant, we have a robust procurement policy and procurement policy process. And in that process, it provides under state law, there are exemptions where we don't have to bid out certain services. And when you have a professional services contract, this was a professional service contract, and we use that exemption to not have to do that. As you all know, sometimes cheaper is not better. And for us to have a quality light system in Nashville, Davidson County, we wanted to make sure that we went a vendor that we trusted as well as one who was going to deliver on those services. And so that's one part of the decision in making going without a bid process.
Yep, very good.
We'll go back to Councilmember Hill for a follow-up.
First, I just want to clarify, I'm not trying to say anything against the company that's doing the work. I'm sure they probably do great work. And I've been in the power industry, so I've written many of RFPs and Qs. So I just was really curious to why we just didn't see that there was another opportunity out there that somebody could have done the same job for less money. There could have been somebody, but that's the only thing I'm asking is why we didn't at least try.
So to kind of circle back to that, when many vendors have been working with the city for some time on this project, and ultimately the city said, hey, we want NES to do the project. Once that contract was signed, we had, a very limited time. We had 6 months to get this project started. So we, NES, are doing the project knowing the whole time we were going to have to bring in some outside help to do the project. We have not no ability to hire more employees to handle projects that come up. So we were going to contract out a lot of this work, whether whom we done it with. So again, the timing was the big thing. Metro agreed they wanted NES to do the project based on the numbers that we had come over for 2 years, right? Came up with those finalized numbers with that budget, that big number that started this. We then, after working with this company on our system at the time, worked through to help us get us some more crews on the system. And it's hard to get linemen and line crews and material and things like that. So they were able to come in there and, like Vaughn stated earlier, at a little bit less price than what we had originally come up with. So timing was a lot of that. I just don't feel like we had the time to go back and run through all those when we had a deadline. We had to get lights up in 6 months.
Another thing I'll add here real quick. So I know the 47 million seems like a large number, right? That was the actual NES cost to do this work, our estimate. But what we need to keep in mind as well is this project involves procuring and buying material and equipment. Half of this budget is nothing more than lights, just buying and purchasing the lights that are going to be installed. So regardless pretty much of which vendor performs this work, they're still going to the same manufacturers to purchase the same lights, going to be very similar cost. So half of this cost is pretty much a fixed price, fixed cost on that.
Thank you all. So I've got a few other members in the queue, but I do want to be respectful of our time here. We've got a regular agenda to get to, and the planning committee starts at 4:30. So I'll try to get through this list. If we could be super punctual and brief. I also have a question that I was hoping to ask. So I'll go to Councilmember Coopin now.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll try to be punctual and brief. First of all, appreciate all you have done with the tornado relief and work there. Want to echo the Chair's sentiments in that case. So y'all mentioned a 5-year period for executing these LED lights throughout the city. Is there somewhere that the public can go to kind of get a sense of, if I live in this part of town, I'm going to see it year 1, year 2, year 3, or kind of to know where they fall within the pacing of this project?
We very much expect before we start the process that it'll be a very public-facing. NES and the city are working together with our corporate communications and are going to have more of a public-facing map that people will be able to see.
And just real quick, if I may add, and thank you for that, we are focusing in on the high injury network first. So when we talk about changing out the lighting to improve the lighting, that's where our first focus is. But we will have an actual program for the 5-year change out.
And quick second question for you. In the meantime, so if the streetlights in a certain neighborhood are on year 3 of this plan, what, if any, improvements or repair replacements will be made to the existing lights while they're waiting in the queue to get the LED lights?
Again, Hub Nashville, go to the hub. It'd be the best place to do it. So if there's something wrong with one of the streetlights, if folks can report it through the hub, that does go over to NES. We actually have a spreadsheet that we're all tracking. And so if it's deemed that the repair is going to, like a full rebuild, they may go ahead and do LED lighting. If they can just repair it, they will. So it really depends on what the cause is. But I ask everyone to please put it in the hub. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just to reiterate some of that, we're going to continue to do our routine maintenance in the areas that are not within the LED conversion zones, just like we do right now.
Thank you, sir. Next, Councilmember Ellis, and again, if we could be cognizant of the time.
Yeah, I'll be brief. So just when, Mr. Harrell, we were with you for the orientation back in late October, you all had told us that the bidding process would be open, but now that's changed under some exemption. And also to clarify, anytime any tax dollars are expensed for any sort of operation here in Nashville, we want to make sure that we give our current laborers the option to bid for those jobs, because although the cost of the product may be low, the money that they get for putting in those lights and the labor expense and money that they gain from doing that work puts food on their tables as well. So I don't really appreciate the bait and switch, though, from when we were told in October that would be an open bid process, and now it comes to this exemption, because, how do we know when we first came on, especially for those that were in the runoff, that this wasn't going to be a transparent and fair bidding process? There's possibly things that could have been done.
So thank you for those remarks. I think there may have been some miscommunication. Are you referring to in October when you came to NES?
Yes, for the orientation.
For the orientation,
Because,
yeah.
a lot of these things happened in the previous council, and so I'm newly elected.
Okay, so I don't recall, and Antonio and Joey, I think this idea of kind of forgoing the bidding process has been in place for months. There may have been some miscommunication when you were there, but that was not the intent at the time when you were at NES. You want to talk about funding?
Yeah, I would agree that was not intent to be a bait and switch. I don't recall us in that orientation discussing that bidding process. We talked about that we were working on getting the process started, but I don't remember discussing that. And as for the ratepayer funds, we're trying to make sure that those ratepayer funds are used in the best way possible so we can make sure that we get the best lighting system for our city.
Thank you. I've got Councilmember Allen, and I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to take any questions. You can submit additional questions by email, but we're running super late with our agenda, so I apologize to anybody who was hoping to get another question, but we will go to Councilmember Allen for one final question from members.
Thank you. Can you comment on whether these will be union workers that do this, and if there's an apprenticeship program that will give the new people the opportunity to become trained to earn a decent wage?
Yeah, so I am not sure if it's going to be union or not. I mean, the path is selected or reached out to different contractors, and they may have multiple on board to help with this. I'm not sure the status about union workers.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, folks. We're going to have to. I have one quick question, and that is, so today with the lights that are out there right now, sort of without the smart feedback to report outages, do we have any kind of routine audit procedure and capability, or is it kind of on individual council members and citizens to submit outed lights via Hub or via the NES website?
It's primarily up to our customers to kind of notify us about lights that are out. But we do have on many of the main thoroughfares like the Murfreesboro Roads, Nolanville Road, Gallatin Road, Dixon Pike, we try to ride those roads out quarterly and identify lights that are out and get those maintained and fixed.
Thank you. Looks like Director Alarcon is.
Yes, we do have a crew that is constantly going around and recording out lights. Our signal crews that are out doing repairs and stuff like that in the evening part are also hitting different zones and recording lights out that we report back through Hub to NES.
Thank you. And I'll just say that I've tried in the past to do entire audits of my district, and it's really overwhelming, and there's probably more lights out in your area than you think. So if you can encourage your constituents when they're out on evening walks or bike rides or walking to the bar or anything like that, please just take the 2 seconds. I just snap a picture of the poll number. Usually it's several on a given bike ride, and then come home and kind of type those all into Hub at the same time. It's a lot easier than pulling up Hub on your phone. So just snap a picture of the poll number and then put them all in at once. That's what I recommend. But thank you so much, gentlemen from NES, for everything y'all been doing this week and for being here with us this afternoon, and as well the folks from NDOT. Thank y'all so much for the update. We look forward to rollout of that program and learning more as it goes along. Okay, we're going to have to move quickly through our normal agenda, folks. I have a proposed consent agenda. I'm going to read off these are the agenda numbers followed by the legislation number. And if anything needs to come off this proposed consent agenda, please let me know after I read the list. So on the proposed consent agenda, we have item 1, RS 2023-132. Item 3, RS 2023-134. Item 5, RS 2023-149. Item 6, RS 2023-150. Item 7, BL 2023-122. Item 8, BL 2023-123. Item 9, BL 2023-124. Item 10, BL 2023-125. Item 11, BL 2023-126. Item 12, BL 2023-127. Do any of those items need to come off of the proposed consent agenda? Councilmember Allen, give me 1 second. You're recognized.
RS 2023-134.
Okay, we'll pull item number 3. RS 2023-134 off of consent. Anything else, members? Okay, I'm going to read the captions of our consent agenda, and then I will ask for a motion on the consent agenda. Item 1, RS 2023-132, this authorized by Huffman, Vo, Porterfield, and others. This authorizes the Department of Water and Sewerage Services to transfer control of 2 parcels of property to the Metropolitan government. Item 5, RS 2023-149 by Ellis, Porterfield, and Parker. This accepts a donation from VFV Partners LLC in the amount of $50,000 as a contribution toward infrastructure improvements in the vicinity of 2760 Murfreesboro Pike. Item 6, RS 2023-150 by Coopin, Porterfield, and Parker. This accepts a donation from Albion Residential in the amount of $15,000 as a contribution towards the cost of an analysis conducted by NDOT for roadway infrastructure improvements associated with the Pie Town Mobility Study. Bills on second reading. Item 7, this is BL 2023-122 by Taylor Gamble Parker. This authorizes the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main and to accept new public water main for property located at 300 HM Hutcherson Alley, also known as the Clifton Ave Public Water Relocation, MWS project number 23-WL-149 and proposal number 2023-M-158ES-001. Item 8, this is BL 2023-123 by Gamble and Parker. This authorizes the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 1600 County Hospital Road, also known as Cumberland Logistics Park, MWS projects number 23-WL-11 and 23-SL-21, and proposal number 2023-M-156ES-001. Item number 9, this is BL 2023-124 by Parker, Porterfield, Gamble. This authorizes the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing brick water pumping station building located at 2124 Oakwood Avenue, but to retain the public utility and drainage easement. Proposal number 2023-M-160ES-001. Item 10, this is BL 2023-125 by Cash, Gamble, and Parker. This authorizes the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing public water mains and to accept new public water mains and fire hydrant assemblies for property located at 1215 21st Avenue South, also known as VUMC Link Tower, MWS project number 23-WL-71 and proposal number 2023-M-159ES-001. Item 11, this is BL 2023-126 by Parker and Gamble. This authorizes the Metropolitan Government to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 524 Edwin Street and Edwin Street Unnumbered, also known as Edwin Greens Phase 2. MWS project numbers 23-WL-34 and 23-SL-74 and proposal number 2023-M-163ES-001. Item 12, this is BL 2023-127 by Gamble and Parker, authorizes the Metropolitan Government to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 3500 Brick Church Pike, also known as Thornton Grove Phase 4B, MWS project numbers 23-WL-17 and 23-SL-30, and proposal number 2023-M-155ES-001. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you. We approve the consent agenda. We've got 3 items to get to, and we'll jump right in. So item 2 on our agenda, this is RS 2023-133 by Weiner and Allen. This amends ordinance number BL 2023-1690 as amended to provide a stormwater capacity fee appeal process and to amend the applicability of the new section 15-64-035 of the Metropolitan Code. Do we have a motion on this?
Moved.
Properly moved and seconded. We have the bill's sponsor here, although we do need we have a motion already. I'll recognize Councilmember Weiner, who is the bill's sponsor. Councilmember Weiner, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chair. I would like to offer a brief history because this comes to us inherited from the previous council. And I think that it would serve us well to have just a little brief history about it, and I'll be as brief as I can. Several years ago, Metro Water identified developments that were projects that were causing issues in the combined sewer area. That is where the water and the sewer share the same pipes, and it exists in the Urban Services District, not the General Services District. It doesn't have capacity that is available for directly tying into our stormwater connections. For clarity, if you read the text of the bill, you'll see that MS4 is referenced in there. So what's MS4? It's actually in the GSD where there are no combined sewer water areas, nor do they feed into the system downtown. A solution was needed to allow connections and correct system deficiencies. So in 2017, Metro Water started evaluating individual grading permit projects, to system capacity on an individual grading permit basis so they could come up with a proposed design solution. They held meetings with the engineering community to discuss possible solutions, and that expanded to include attorneys, residential, and commercial developers. Metro Water started developing that master plan for both the combined water area and the MS4 to guide decisions. Approximately 2 years ago, a basic agreement was reached where the funds needed to initiate the program was going to be plus or minus $35 million. Basic guidelines were agreed to for implementing the stormwater capacity fee as recommended by our development community. At the end of the first quarter of 2023, the development community and Metro Water agreed to an accompanying policy that would guide the implementation and expenditure of the stormwater capacity fee. At the end of the second quarter of 23, the master plan for the combined area was substantially complete, allowing Metro Water to utilize a model and planning information. Around the second quarter of 23, the residential developers in the MS4 decided they did not want to participate in the program because they were arguing a legal nexus. Okay, so what's the legal nexus? Which for those of us that are not attorneys, what that means is that because there are no combined sewer areas, nor any connection from the GSD into the Urban Services District, they didn't see that they should be a party to that requirement. Think sidewalk bill. We don't want to have another issue with our sidewalk bill and have the whole baby with the bathwater thrown out. So this keeps us such that, according to Metro Legal, excluding any single-family development from the MS4 was appropriate to also include single-family, two-family, and infill development to the exclusion list. So what you'll see in this bill, based on final agreements made by all the parties and the legislation now being drafted and amended twice, it only amends the applicability of the stormwater capacity fee to exclude those single-family, two-family, and residential multifamily in the MS4 and infill lots due to the legal nexus of they not having to be involved in the combined sewer area. So I hope that explains it. It's a lot. It's been a long time coming, and hopefully this will solve a loophole that will cause us unintended consequences down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. So would it be possible to get anyone from Water to follow up on that explanation and give us the department's perspective on this amendment? If you would please introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, Jim Snyder, Metro Water. And I think Councilmember Weiner has done a really good job of explaining the details. We feel like we have a good plan in place. There was a little bit of a concern from our legal department and expressed by the attorneys for the developers about this nexus. You know, when we think of terms of nexus, think of pipe, something to tie into. Now, if you get more rural or urban areas and you're tying into a roadside ditch, we think of that as stormwater infrastructure, but the developers may not see it that way. And so that was the concern. I can tell you that the idea is, and once again, the developers in our department have been working together along with our attorneys to come up with this solution. It was codified last year by the council. The master plan was codified by the council last year. So money comes in, we have a master plan, how we're going to spend it. And so we think this is a really good solution. And we just hope that you will agree to that and approve it.
If I may ask, sir, so it's my understanding that the fee, absent this amendment, is the same whether you're in combined area or separate area?
That's correct.
And so does this eliminate the fee entirely in the separated areas?
No, well, the fee, think about it, the combined system in the MS4. That rate per square foot of impervious area, that's the same. So, once again, those in the urban, in the urban and suburban, in the suburban, more rural areas felt like, well, the infrastructure is not needed like you're saying it is as far as the off-site stuff. What we did is we have, we think in terms of how much development will take place, what kind of funds we think we can manage in that year, and and the rate was calculated. So I think what's really important to know as well that the combined system and the properties within the infill area will be paying this fee. And I know we've heard from the council many times this infill has been a concern. So this is a way to collect funds, strategically build infrastructure based on the master plan to protect the existing homeowners.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? I see Councilmember Evans Siegel. You are recognized.
I just have a question about the appeal review and the reasoning behind the calculation using a developer's square footage only.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Would you mind explaining
Thank you, Councilmember. I should have mentioned this is pretty objective. So what happens is developer submits a set of plans and they put on the set of plans the amount of impervious or area that will not receive water. That calculation is put on the plan. Our reviewers will look at that, double check it, and go, yep, we agree with that, or no, we don't agree with it. So even after all that, if the developer feels like that's not accurate, what's being appealed is the calculation on the square footage, not the rate. So it's like a first check, a second check, and even a third check if it's needed, and we were okay with that.
Okay. Can I ask more? That makes sense. I think that wasn't how I read this, what I read this as meaning. And I guess want to check with legal and make sure that that was their understanding of what this means as well.
And Councilmember, can I add one more piece I think that might be helpful? That third check will be done by a third-party consultant that we have on contract. So that's, we have the Metro personnel looking at it, developer, but also the third party to verify that calculation. So it's completely objective.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I just think it's a text, quite a legal text.
Can we go to administration table or Ms. Darby? Ms. Darby, you're recognized.
The way that the text reads is that if there is an appeal, the appeal is of the calculation of the square footage, not of the rate that's being applied. So that, it's pretty, as Mr. Snyder was saying, it's pretty objective, standard. It's just almost a math problem, but also a review of the plans to make sure that the square footage is, what the plans say the square footage is.
I think mindful that we're pretty early on this, I'll just follow up after committee with legal to talk about.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Allen?
Thank you. This may be helpful. Mr. Snyder, can you just talk about, this is a calculation of the impervious surface. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between pervious and impervious and whether green roofs figure in and pavers and systems like that? And is that probably where there could be a difference of opinion on what square footage is?
So I'm going to start my answer, but at this time I'm going to ask Mr. Tony Newmeyer to step to the mic as well. He's our Assistant Director over Development Review. But the difference between impervious and pervious, impervious, once again, is where water cannot infiltrate the soil. Pervious is where it can. Now, if you implement things that would keep the water from running off the site, that benefits you, but I'm going to let Tony, the expert, chime in as well.
Not an expert, just gonna be able to answer the question. Yeah, anything you do that will let water infiltrate is a good idea. So we want to give people credit for that work. So what we would do is actually to deduct that. So it's really a net calculation. We want to encourage people to use green roofs and alternative practices and things like that. We thought that was be fair and reasonable when applying the rate. Thank you.
Thank you all. Any other questions, discussions on this legislation from the body? Okay, so we have a motion to approve before us. All in favor of recommending approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, thanks. We recommend approval. So move on to item 3, RS 2023-134 by Porterfield and Parker. This authorizes the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to enter into an agreement with the Harpeth Valley Utilities District of Davidson and Williamson Counties, Tennessee, HVUD for short, for reading of water consumption meters, billing of Metro's sewer customers. Do we have a motion on 134?
So moved.
Properly moved and seconded. The lead sponsor is Councilmember Porterfield, but Councilmember Allen, you asked for it to be pulled from consent, so we'll go to you for discussion, questions,
Thank you.
anything of that
I just
nature.
had a question on, I mean, generally, sewer is charged based on the reading for the water rate. And in the past, I don't know if this changed when we did the rate study, the calculation for sewer was adjusted for the summer months based on the assumption if it changed dramatically, then there might be a sprinkler usage, and there was a, quote, sprinkler credit given. Although now sprinklers are kind of one of the bad guys that use a whole lot of excess water. So my question is, are we still doing that sprinkler credit, and would that apply here since we're charging, I mean, since a different entity is reading the meter and doing the, and then charging for sewer based on what you read on the water use?
Hey there, Amanda Deaton-Moyer, Metro Water Finance. Yes, we still do the sprinkler adjustment, but that's not really related here. It's that we just need the reading to be able to charge it.
And the reading is the water reading, not the sewer reading, right?
It is.
Gotcha. And so are we making an adjustment in the summer for their sprinkler use as we do here, or we don't even do that? We're just giving them the reading and,
We're just getting the reading.
okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions about this resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you. All right, our last item, folks, and then we'll get out of the way so planning can get going. RS 2023-148 by Porterfield, Parker, Welsh, and others. This approves an application for a carbon reduction program grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through NDOT for a project, Connect Downtown Adaptive Signal System, that will improve mobility and address traffic congestion in the downtown core. Could we have a motion on this, please? Properly moved and seconded. So I pulled this off of consent just to have some general discussion, just to hear from NDOT, if we could, very briefly, about what this thing would do, and allow folks to ask any questions if we had any. So I see Mr. Purvis approaching the podium. I'll go to Mr. Purvis for just a brief explanation of what this grant is that we're applying for here.
So, good evening. Matt Purvis, Council Liaison for NDOT. This grant is to basically seek outside dollars to update and improve about 109 signals in the Connect Downtown study area. So that would be basically, detection systems, communication, signal controllers, and software associated with that. Things like upgrading to fiber as opposed to copper communications, and being able to connect it to the traffic management center and improve detection abilities.
And something that's kind of drove me nuts for years is like if you're going down KVB around rush hour, you'll often see a MNPD officer with the guts of a traffic control system open manually operating that traffic signal. Would this eliminate the need to have Metro personnel standing at intersections such as that manually operating those?
So if we get our signals updated on a fiber network and can connect it to the TMC, yes, it would eliminate the need to have somebody at the signal box operating them.
That sounds like a fantastic investment. Thank you. One other thing, and I'm going to ask for more details about this that I'll share. I noticed in the grant application that Tennessee is one of the states that was listed as, I guess this is for federal monies that flow through. It's listed as one of the states that still has, I guess, allows open container in motor vehicles. And it looked like that has some kind of impact on our, it's a minor, it's like 2.5 point hit. But I just want folks to be aware of that. You know, that's a policy that's kind of going to the wayside in many states. And it looks like we are paying something of a financial penalty when it comes to federal and state money as a result of maintaining the ability for folks to drink in motor vehicles. So I just wanted to highlight that. I noticed it in the grant application. Any other discussion questions on this grant app? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Okay, recommend approval. Thank you all so much. That concludes our committee meeting, and planning is coming up next. Apologies for running over, y'all.